And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at a game from KOSMOS, Rudiger Dorn, called Steam Time. Now, I didn't know much about this game when it was announced. I looked at it. It's about dirigibles, kind of this going through time. Although I have to be honest, whenever I see a game about time travel, I always take that with a grain of salt, because time travel is exceptionally hard to do in a board game, and I only know of one board game, Time Stories, that's ever done it well. But it was a worker placement game. Mr. Dorn is a very good designer, and the game had fabulous looking pieces, so I was hoping it was good. Let's find out. The board for this game is modular. You have these different time boards that are going to be placed here randomly. The boards themselves are going to change based on the number of players. This one here is using a 2-player game, this one in a 3-player game, so the different boards have different sides. And each board has different elements. There's a possible 6 elements on each board, and each board is missing one of those elements. So players are going to be taking turns each of the 5 rounds, and they are going to be placing airships on these boards. When you place an airship, you can place in an element that doesn't have any other airship, but after that, you can only go forward in time. So you'll take one of these, and I can put it on any board above this one. So if I put this one here, on my third one, I'm going to have to put up on the last board somewhere. Now, each place where you place these is going to give you some sort of benefit. And the color of it, these are green and blue and black and pink and gray and gold, are also going to give you possible bonus benefits. Now, many of the spots on the board will give you some straightforward stuff. So, for example, if I go here, I'm going to get 7 gold. If I go here, I'm going to get 4 gold, and I'm going to be able to rotate a piece of machinery. If I go here, I get 5 gold, and I get 1 steam. So many of the spots will give you things. Here, in these spots here, I'll be able to buy the different gems for $2 each, and some of them also will give me points. But this one gives me a choice of 6 different things, and I might go here though, because I only have 4 that I can buy, or 3 that I can buy here, but I can also get 2 points. When you go to these spots, you're going to draw cards, the number of cards that it shows there, and these cards will give you choices. For example, here I can take 2 gems of my choice of color from the bag, or I can turn in 2 different gems of my color one time for 5 points. Here I can take a yellow gem, or I can turn in 1 yellow gem for 3 points. So you're going to draw a certain number of these cards and pick one. Sometimes it will give you something and then everybody else something else. So for example, here this gives me 8 gold and everyone else gets 2 gold. Or here, I get 4 points, but everyone else can turn in a blue crystal one time for 2 points. Here I can take 2 red crystals, or I can turn in 2 red crystals for 6 points. So these blue cards have that kind of wild thing about them. If you go in these spots here, along the outside of the board, these will allow you to take these bonus cards. You'll keep these cards at the end of the game. If I can turn in 4 steams one time, I'll get 6 points. Here at the end of the game, I can turn in $16 for 8 points. Here at the end of the game, I can basically for every upgrade I get 2 points, and I can do that up to 6 times. These are upgrades. When you take these, you're going to need to pay resources. This says A, B, C, D. How do I know what those are? Well, each round of the game, you're going to turn over a card, and it's going to tell you what colors correspond to what letters. So here, A, B, C, D, I'm going to need to turn in a pink, a gray, a green, and a blue crystal to get those. So when I do turn these in, I will immediately get whatever it shows on here. So this gives me a time crystal, which is a wild white clear crystal, and it gives me a coin. But I'm also going to attach these to my board, and at the beginning of every round I'm going to get these again. So if I buy this one on round 1, I'm essentially getting it 5 times. That's what these upgrades are. These give you money, and these give you missions. Now before I talk about missions, we need to talk about the player board. So your player board here has different spots to put the gem. You have a track here to keep track of your steam. Over here at the end, you have spots to add those upgrade tiles as you get them. And these gems here will give you possible bonuses. For example, whenever I take a green action, which is getting one of these bonus cards, which, by the way, I would store there, I also will get points equal to the number of green gems I have here. So I start with 1 green gem, so every time I take a green action I get a point, but if I fill this all the way up, I'm going to get 4 points every time I take a green action. So as you get gems, you can fill these things up. The last gem here costs 2 coins when I put it there because you're kind of running your engine at maximum. This one here, if the blue one, every time I take an action with a blue border, I get extra steam at the top. Over here, every time I take an action with a black border, I'm going to get some of these wild time crystals, which can go in any of the slots, although they go to the farthest to the right. So maybe I get 2 time crystals. If I have 2 black crystals here, every time I take a black action, I'm going to get 2 of these, and I might put them both here. And now when I take a blue action, I'm going to get the steam. Down here, whenever I take this action for each pink crystal, I'm going to rotate this. When this passes this pink thing here, I can then take this guy here, Mr. Time, and place him on any spot and take the bonus of that spot. Down here, whenever I take an action with a gray border, for each gray gem I have, I'm going to get 2 extra coins. Down here is where I'm going to be using these bonus cards. Now when I take a bonus card, I have to pay the gems that it shows here. So this shows A and B, which in turn 1 is a pink and gray crystal. I pay those. And then, depending on how many of these gold crystals I have here, depends on the rewards I get. So I only have 1, I'm simply going to get 5 points. But if I had all 5 of them, I would get 5 points, 6 coins, and a time crystal. And this game is set up so that these are going to change as time goes by. And like this is a card from round 5, you can see that one of these gives me 8, but if I have all 5, I'm going to get 14 points and a steam. Now when you pay for different things with these crystals, they're going to come from here, so your bonuses are going to be cut down. You also have the opportunity, whenever you're paying for things, to spend 1 steam, and each steam that you spend can change the color of one crystal to another color. When players are taking their turns, players are going to put airship out on the board, or they can take the first player marker. Unless you are the first player, that can't be the first thing you do. If no one takes it, you can take it as the second thing you do. When you take this, you do nothing that round. You're going to go first in the next round, except you also can one time change 1 steam into a time crystal, or change up to 10 steam into 1 point each. That's basically the game itself. Players are going to be keeping track of their points, which by the way are called esteem. Over here, when they pass 60 on this track, they're going to take the 60 token of their choice, and which could go to 120 if they get that many points. And whoever has the most points at the end of the game is the winner. I really enjoyed playing Steam Time, and I think it's cool how well it goes from 2 to 4 players with different boards. Now, after each round, the top board is slid out and goes to the bottom. And so the boards will be shifting, and there'll be different things each turn of the game. But these boards fascinate me because there's a certain number of things that are available on them. And when it's your turn, you have a plethora of good choices. I'm always a big fan of games that give you this cornucopia of, ooh, what do I do now? There's so many good options. I like that. Now you can paint yourself in a corner by jumping up high, and then at the end maybe you only have a few options. But if you start near to the bottom, you can go up, and you're going to sit there and go, I want money. I want to move that little pink dial around so I can get that Mr. Time guy out. I want to add mods to my ship. The more mods I add to my ship, after the beginning of every round, I'm getting all this stuff. I want to grab these mission cards. At first, you don't think they're that big of a deal, but at the end of the game, you can win or lose based on those. These blue cards here, where you are basically meeting famous personalities. By the way, these are actually famous people. Nostradamus and John Rockefeller and James Watt and Marco Polo, and there's just many, Nikola Tesla, and just different people. So there's kind of that theming in there, but it's fun to draw these because you get it and you're like, ooh, this is really good, but if I take that, I'm giving this to everyone else. Or this one, I don't get something quite as good, but only I'm going to get it. And I enjoy that. So you might want to go to the one where you draw more cards, but you might want to go to the one where you draw only 2 cards, but get some points. By the way, I think it's really odd that the game's points are esteem. You're trying to get esteem with the TIME Corporation, but the game is called Steam, and it's about Steam. So you have Steam and Esteem, which is, I don't know, it got confusing talking about that for a while. But The game is essentially just a victory point machine, but where the game really shines, not just the abundance of fun places to place your workers, are these bonuses. This is a neat, very neat system. As you put down the different gems on these, and sometimes you got to pay to put in the last spot, that means when you go to certain places on the board, not only you get that action, but you're going to get a cool bonus action. At the same time, you need to spend these to get things. And so there's this constant, I want to spend stuff, but then I don't get this. Or I do want to spend it, maybe I should pay some Steam. I need to make sure I get enough Steam. And there's like this management of resources, but it's a fun management of resources. You're sitting here going, oh, I want to get those bonuses, but I also want to buy this. Which one's the better choice? All right, I need to do this. I need to make sure I have enough money. I want to save some of these resources and money for the end of the turn, so I get end of the game, so I can accomplish my missions. I think my favorite thing here is every turn of Steam time, when it came to my turn, I was like, ooh, what should I do now? I never felt like I was pushed into a corner. Yeah, sometimes I'm like, oh, I need money. But even then, I could go to one of the money spaces, or I could go to one of the personage spaces and draw cards and hope one of these gave me money. So it was, or I might just say, well, if I won't worry about money right now, I'll take a mission card, or I'm just going to go and do this. I just felt like there was always this, what can I do? I'm in a candy land of fun things. The game also has a really good visual look to it. I mean, we got these gems. These are in almost all games anymore, but they're popping. The artwork on the board, the whole thing is good. Now, it's a little, I don't think the time theme came through that strongly, right? And that whole, you can't go past in time, whatever. I mean, you're going around in time, I guess, doing crazy missions and things. That didn't come through very strongly, but the game itself was strong enough to go beyond that. It's not a long game. It says 90 minutes on the box, and that's probably a 4-player game. I mean, maybe your first game will go longer, but 90 minutes solid for 4-player, and with 2 players, easily 45 to an hour. So if you can tell, I find this one very good. Check it out. That's Steam Time. Dice Tower Judgment, excellent!
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!